everyone. I'm Sovereign Curtis with the Porcupine Freedom Festival. This is Ask Soviet Curtis. Who am I hearing? This is interesting. There we go. I'm still on the wrong channel. This is a question and answer session. I am the head organizer of the Porcupine Freedom Festival. You can get your questions in, anything you'd like to ask about the Porcupine Freedom Festival, aka PorcFest, PorcFest.com. My volume's not loud enough. I just stick it in my mouth. Oh. How about now? Does it sound better? How about now? Does everyone sound good? No sound. How can you have no sound? I thought you said just turn the volume up. Now it's no sound? Odd. I got sound on my end, so. Yes, yes, now. We got a crazy delay, I guess. All right, so thank you for tuning in. I am the head organizer of the Porcupine Freedom Festival. I do appreciate George Donnelly setting this up. Who'd have guessed what an incredible success the Agora I/O Unconference would become? Already such success that I believe he's decided to do it twice a year, once in the spring, once in the fall, and I'm already starting to think about what possibly I might want to talk about next year. I won't have PorcFest to pimp, so I'm going to have to come up with something different. Well, I'll still be doing the PorcFest, it's just it'll be the wrong time of year to be pimping it. It'll be a little early. Maybe I can pimp Liberty Forum, because I do want to help my good friend Chris Lawless, should he decide to run Liberty Forum this next year, to make that a success. So thank you, George Donnelly, not only for starting the Agora I/O, but for being one of those people I watch to be sort of an example that I can to set the bar for me to try to emulate and exceed. And between you and me, last year or two, I've had fun trying to play one up with you, and it's been a pretty great relationship, if you ask me. So this is a question and answer session, but I did want to start with a brief history of the Porcupine Freedom Festival. I assume I've got some information here you're probably not aware of, because it was information I wasn't even aware of until it was given to me. So let's start there. The Free State Project, as most of you are probably aware, is a potential agreement among 20,000 pro-liberty activists to move to one state, the state that was chosen in 2003, and the state vote was New Hampshire. The goal is to exert the fullest practical effort towards the creation of a society in which the maximum role of government is the protection of life, liberty, and property. That, of course, does leave room for a society in which there is no proper role for government, in which the proper role for everything is self-governance. To that end, the Porcupine Freedom Festival, its main goal is to showcase the community in New Hampshire, specifically the Liberty community, and encourage some of those signers, some of those participants, to get off the fence and make the move. It's been quite successful at this. I personally moved during PorcFest 2009. And it was such an incredible event that I immediately signed up to help volunteer and organize the next one, and here I am 2 years later as the head organizer. Thank you, my queen. So, brief rundown of the history. In 2003, prior to the state vote, which was held that summer, an event was held in New Hampshire, which was not called the Porcupine Freedom Festival, but rather was called Escape to New Hampshire. Some people have referred to this as PorcFest Zero, and it was not organized by the Free State Project, but once New Hampshire was chosen, it obviously was the template used for the Porcupine Freedom Festival. A little closer, even? I'm serious, I don't know how to get it closer. I think everyone should just turn up their speakers. In 2004, Tim Condon proposed the first annual Porcupine Freedom Festival, thank you, Tim, and Night on the Barricades, which kicked off the Porcupine Freedom Festival tradition. He probably had no idea what it would turn into. The organization of that event was very organic. It did feature a pre-published schedule, including speakers and workshops, and family activities, a dance with the DJ, the NHLA dinner, etc., etc. The estimated attendance for that event was between 250 and 300 people. It occurred late June, as it does today, and it was at Rogers Campground. In 2005, the second annual Porcupine Freedom Festival retained its name but without the subtitle. Many new features were added, including more volunteers and structure, a registration with printed program, a second on-site speaker venue. We haven't always occupied all the buildings in Rogers Campground. That was a slow build-up. Excuse me, I ate 2 seconds before this started. Off-site recreational activities, including laser tag and the hike of Mount Liberty, ride and room share forums, live music, organized town tours, a mock town hall meeting, organized firearms safety and shooting opportunities, whole day classes, donor luncheon, etc., etc. And it was from the 2005 Porcupine Freedom Festival that we get the PorcFest logo we use today. There was a contest held, and that's where the winning logo was chosen. Attendance is estimated to have jumped around 40 to 50% year over year, with an estimated attendance of 400 to 450 people. The organizer for that PorcFest was Varen Swearingen, our former president. Thank you, Varen. '06 was the third official PorcFest, and there was a bit of a format change. Things haven't always gone the same way. In this case, the big weekend was at the beginning of the week rather than at the end. Programming was substantially similar, but new events included movie nights, the PorcFest cook-off, and the silent auction. Shout out to the Liberty ladies at the One Pot Cook-Off. That's going to be a big event this year. Attendance was roughly 400 people, about the same as the year previous. In '07, a committee was formed to find a new home for the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It was felt that Rogers, all the way up in Lancaster, was too far from where people were making their homes and such, so they decided to move to the Gunstock Mountain Resort. The problem with that is Gunstock is government subsidized, I guess, and they had some issues with noise and booze sales and some of the other things that were going on that we like to do. Which is ultimately why it moved back to Rogers. But in '07, roughly 500 people attended. It was organized by Rich Goldman. Thank you, Rich. And included new features like bus tours, which is probably the biggest drawback to having it at Rogers is it's too far away to take bus tours of the local area, which is why this year we're going to try to do tours before and after PorcFest. So if you're interested in touring the state, just stick around or come a little early. On-site food sales, greatly expanded live music, and it's felt that live media broadcast may have started in 2007. Roughly 500 attended, and this was the beginning of the admission charge, $10 to get into the PorcFest. 2008 was roughly the same as 2007, same attendance, roughly the same fees, same organizer. Thank you, Rich. And that ended PorcFest's short hiatus at Gunstock. In 2009, it was decided to move back to Rogers, which was a more suitable location. Promotion of the dates was limited to the big weekend, establishing a new trend, which we're bucking this year. Major new features included Soapbox Idol, PorcFest's most popular event, which will be expanded this year. Limited independent commerce, and the TV room was brought online for the first time that year. Lead organizer, Queen Quill Carla Garecki, estimated attendance 600 people. 2010, last year, was a big jump for PorcFest. Attendance was the biggest notable increase. We went from roughly 600 to roughly 800 people. PorcFest 2010 featured relaxed commerce, 24-hour trading, including food in the Agora Alley. Live music expanded to such a point that we couldn't accommodate every band and musician that wanted to play, which is a pretty cool problem to have, if you ask me. And shout out to Kurt Hildebrand. This was the first time we ever had a truly professional sound system for the bands and entertainers. Other new features included campsite themes, which we'll be expanding upon this year, the open source cafe, which is getting an upgrade, greatly expanded live media broadcasts, a brand new full color map. Remember this? Yes, I'm very, very proud of this one. Way to go, Johnson Rice. Dance parties, weddings, the free state or free state-free weddings, jewelry party, etc., etc. One of the things that has been ebbing and flowing, but overall declining through the years at PorcFest has been family-specific programming, and that's something we're addressing this year. Specifically, we've got a very well-developed family and kid-friendly schedule this year, being run by Sharon Osborne and Kate Muller, and we're very happy to have their help. So feel free to bring your friends, family, kids, dogs. They're all welcome at PorcFest this year. That concludes the brief history of PorcFest. And now, I'd like to ask you to submit your questions for me because I've got another 49 minutes to fill up. And only roughly 2 questions sitting in front of me here. The first is from John L. He asks, what's the best way to get pro-liberty figures to cover and attend PorcFest? It's a pretty simple question. One, you make PorcFest incredibly awesome so they actually want to be there. And then 2, you have a big fat wallet so you can pay them to be there. That's about what it boils down to. We tend to focus on the first avenue and hope that can overcome the fact that we don't control so much that second avenue. The money's tight. Which, by the way, you can donate right now. The chip in below my name on the speaker page, that goes to the PorcFest operational budget, not my pocket. Let me tell you, we need your donations for the PorcFest operational budget. Right now we have roughly 10% the anticipated budget of what we need to do this year, so we definitely need your donation. Next one comes from David Morris. Hello, David. He asked me what color the PorcFest 2011 shirts are going to be this year. I got no clue. I really don't. I've got really no preference. I think maybe only they shouldn't be black because it's going to be summertime, and that's about all. I've got so much on my plate that the T-shirts haven't really come across my radar yet. We do have quite the graphic and illustrative design team, so it will be a great design. We just haven't made it yet, let alone chosen what color the shirts will be that the design will be on. I do know that the volunteer shirts, and this is something I had an idea for at last one, I do know what the design of the volunteer shirts will be. We're going to take Carla's face, and we're going to get like the Union Jack shirt, kind of, oh man, why am I drawing a blank now? The Queen, well, I'm trying to think, the band. Anyway, Carla's face, crown, Union Jack colors on the T-shirt, Sex Pistols, thank you, and the God Save the Queen theme with Carla's face. It's going to be hilarious. So that's what the volunteers will be wearing. What the regular attendees will be wearing, I don't know. A PorcFest T-shirt, no matter what, I'm sure. Bam. One thing we'll be doing at this year's Porcupine Freedom Festival is having the Freetown discussion panels. The point of that is to encourage, it's to give people who are in state the opportunity to pitch people who are thinking about moving to come live in their area. Our host, George Donnelly, let it slip yesterday that he's actually considering moving to New Hampshire, and he's going to be looking for some place to rent come around PorcFest 2011. So what we're going to do is kind of focus on George. Being a well-known figure in the Liberty community, it makes sense to try to convince him very publicly to move to our town, go Upper Valley, and let that be seen by the entire community. That process will culminate at PorcFest 2011, in which a discussion panel will be convened, and representatives from the different free regions of the Free State or Freeish State will be able to pitch George and you on moving to their place or their town. Nick Ford asks, what has been the biggest problems in the past, anticipating for the future? Biggest problems. Biggest problems. Well, the actual event is pretty much on cruise control. Once you start the event, there is a lot of work to be done, but most of the big problems are kind of out of the way by then. The police aren't a big deal. The water, somewhat of a problem, but I mean, you're not going to not attend PorcFest because there might be a problems with the water, right? Um, the biggest problems you seem to be in the organizing. Um, there's so much going on up here and across the country that uh, is fighting for, a dedicated activist time and attention. Um, that it's not easy to get a whole lot of people to work hard for free to put on this festival. So I guess getting committed volunteers before the event has been one of the biggest problems. Big problems, big problems. That's about it. PorcFest is noise. Noise is not a problem with me. um, yeah, I can't really think of any big pressing problems, Carla. It's pretty easy. Once you get there, it's time to have fun. I mean, you can be the head organizer and start drinking 10 in the morning, and you're still going to be fine. Next question comes from David again. All right, thank you, David. What is Agora Valley and what's the Agorist Co-op? Well, Agora Valley is nothing more than a chunk of space at Rogers Campground that I reserved at the end of the last PorcFest um, for agorist vendors. It makes sense to me to have a central location, kind of like a mall or a strip mall or um, any other retail location where you want to drive a lot of people. So I blocked off a space that had good visibility and would get high traffic. And I just started advertising it to Agorist. Last year, it took me, when I had the idea for Agora Alley, which is only 25 sites, it took me something like 60 to 75 days to not even fill that up. I think we still had a couple sites empty last year. But it was the first time, so that's to be expected. This year, we've tripled the sites in Agora Valley, and out of 80, say 82 sites, I might have 24 left open now with 80 plus days to go. Um, so honestly, I kind of expect Agora Valley to be what we set aside for Agora Valley to be too small for all the free marketeering going on, especially when we're getting rid of the vendor tent or the vendor facilities where people would come and they'd pay for a table to rent a table basically. Everyone's expected to just get their own site. The nice thing about Gore Valley is the sites are large RV sites, so uh, you can do your vending on what we're calling the walkway, where all the vendors will point at each other, and then do your camping on the backside. So you're only spending money for your camping, which is just $25 a night with water and electricity. So you're basically doing your vending absolutely free this year. There's no vendor fee, which is the first time any PorcFest I've been to. I imagine one of the earlier ones probably didn't have a vendor fee. Um, but being an agorist, I absolutely wanted to encourage more agorism. It's pretty much simple as that. I like to see people out there creating value and trading value and making mutually beneficial relationships and contracts voluntarily without intervention from the state. And so I wanted more of it, so I took a step to make more of it. What is the agorist cooperative? Right now, it's just a fanciful notion in my head, to tell you the truth. There isn't really much of a cooperative right now. It's more of I don't even think you call it a confederation. That's why we renamed it the PorcFest Agris Party. Um, party is in a group of people, and party is in woo party. Um, so then there's no expectations that people need to cooperate when they might not otherwise. It's pretty much just a group of individuals who are following their own rational self-interest, and if that leads them to cooperate with another agorist or a set of agorists or all agorists, then let's leave that up to them. There's no expectation that they need to cooperate, so they can do what they like. Thank you, David. Let's see. The next one comes from Jessica Voluntarius. Hello, Jessica. She asks, visit before PorcFest or after PorcFest, and why? That is a very good question. The answer is both. I can go ahead and tell you why. Before PorcFest, you have the opportunity to test drive New Hampshire. This is something we're probably going to have a recurring theme, test driving New Hampshire. Um, and the focus of this test drive will be the Bardo Farm project. Um, they have the Bardo Farm Fest in late May, I believe, roughly a month or so before PorcFest. And the time between Bardo Farm Fest and PorcFest is a very busy time for the farm, so they're offering people the opportunity to come up, work a little bit on the farm, stay there for free, camp out, that sort of thing, and use Bardo as the home base for exploring New Hampshire. And between Bardo Fest and PorcFest, there's going to be a whole lot going on, plenty to do, so it'll be a great time to be in New Hampshire. And of course, at the end of that month, you can convoy with the Bardo crew up to Lancaster for PorcFest. So that's why you might want to come before. Why would you want to come after? Well, it's going to be even warmer. You come for Bardo, you stay for PorcFest, you're done. You're just gonna just send a letter to the lawyer, say, hey, sell my house. We're just gonna stick around in New Hampshire now. What's going on after PorcFest? Well, generally in New Hampshire, the summertime is pretty ridiculous in an awesome sense. I mean, we're stuck inside for a good 4 months out of the year being cold, and I don't mean literally stuck inside, but there's not a whole lot of fun you can have outside, in a t-shirt or anything. So it generally, and this is something I've seen just in my travels, it seems to me that the further north you go in America, the more serious the people who live there take the summertime. Living down south, I was surprised at how few water parks, ice cream shops, etc. there was compared to up here in New Hampshire. I actually grew up in New Hampshire from 2 to 12, and I remember there being 3 or 4 ice cream shops per town, and they were only open 6 months out of the year. There being a water park within 45 minutes one direction, an hour another, two more over in Maine, one up north. So I was quite surprised at how I guess it's just one of those things you don't know what you got until you don't have it anymore. So people in New Hampshire are reminded every year, quite brutally, how awesome summertime is. So once the summertime comes around, the chains are off and people just run wild and do whatever it is they want to do. So after PorcFest, it'd be good to come and stick around because you'll have a lot of people, a lot of time off, a lot of people willing to show you around. You'll have a lot of activism events being scheduled for no reason other than it's warm outside. So it's just basically boils down to opportunity. You come, you stay after PorcFest, and you're going to have so much opportunity to have a good time, get involved in different activist events, do whatever it is you want to do in New Hampshire, and the weather will be nice. So half a dozen of one, six of the other. Just come to New Hampshire and you'll be fine. A little update on the accommodation options at PorcFest. The motel hotels at Rogers Campground are currently sold out, which is a recurring theme. We sell out long before PorcFest every year. But there are probably a dozen hotels within 5 miles of Rogers. If you absolutely need a hotel type lodging in order to attend. There are still plenty of campsites left, RV sites. Um, and if you're trying to do it on the absolute cheap, which PorcFest is one of those wonderful festivals where you actually can do it quite inexpensively, if you work it right, would be to share a campsite. Generally, the Alternatives Expo, which I can't say enough about, um, will offer site sharing and discounted campsites, that sort of thing. So if you want to do it on the cheap, catch a ride to PorcFest, volunteer to get your ticket for free, stay with Alternatives Expo, help out one of the vendors to get some free food. You could just about do all of PorcFest entirely free as long as you don't want to buy some silver or something. Excuse me. Um, Next one comes from Klaus. I'm probably saying it wrong. No biggie. Sorry, Klaus. The question, did the campsites ever fill up or is there unlimited space? There most certainly is not unlimited space, but we have yet to fill out the entire campground. If I recall correctly, the campground's got roughly probably 800 counting rooms, RV sites, park models, which are like mobile homes, cabins, which those sell out like a year ahead of time. There's only four of them. Campsites, the RV sites. Between all of that, there's probably 800 to 900 rentable lodging sites or whatnot. Um, Last year, we filled the cabins, no problem. There's only four of those. We filled all the motel rooms. That's no problem. That happens every year. We filled all of the campsites, which are classified separately from the RV sites, and we probably sold maybe a third of the RV sites, which there's probably 400 or 500 of those. Um, so we've yet to fill the campground, but we have filled significant portions of it. The goal this year is to fill the campground. That would take roughly probably 14 or 1500 people to fill it with lots of space left over to really pack it. We could probably fit 2400 people in there. Um, so I'm shooting for the stars, and maybe I'll fall short and just hit the moon, but definitely not unlimited space. But pretty much and this ties right in with Tanya's question. What if people show up? Will there just show up? Will there be room? Absolutely. If you just show up, the odds of us actually packing out the campground to a point where they can't accommodate another person, slim to none. There'll pretty much always be a spot for someone to share a site, pitch a tent, share a tent, whatever. Um, I look forward to the day where we have so many people that I got to worry about where to put them so they can sleep. But that one's probably a couple, 3 years off. Please register. PorcFest.com. Registration.porcfest, PorcFest.com. The early bird registration ends in 4 days. So unless you want to pay $5 more, and if you do, just donate $5. You should register now. Registration helps us meet our expenses early. We got a lot of expenses long before the event starts. As I mentioned before, you can donate to me, and when you donate to me, what you're actually donating to is the PorcFest operational budget, which sits at about a tenth of what it needs to be right now. So please go ahead, dig deep, register for PorcFest, registration.porcfest.com. Bug the shit out of your friends, make them register for PorcFest, and consider a generous donation so we can pull off the world's greatest freedom festival one more time. Got something for me? I'm going to take another sip of juice here. Go ahead and get those questions in. I'm surprised no one's asked me about why no RVs yet, but maybe you already know the answer to that. We got another half hour. Is that it? Nope. Okay. Excellent. PorcFest FM radio. Can we elaborate, David? Absolutely. We're calling it PorcFest Radio. Um, it is pirate radio. It's going to be broadcasting music, PorcFest specific commercials, advertising, event announcements. We might even, I know we're going to stream, or not stream, but we're going to broadcast Free Talk Live every night from 7 to 10 on PorcFest Radio. And we might even stream some of the, or broadcast some of the more popular speakers if there's a market desire for such, and we figure out how the hell to do that. The nice thing about this is if you were there last year, we used a megaphone system as the announcement system. It was kind of a pain in the ass. If you had a campsite near one of those megaphones, you definitely hated it. If you had a campsite very far away from those megaphones, you didn't see it or you didn't hear it. And so we came up with the idea of the pirate radio because all it would take for you to get in on the announcements and everything would be to bring a cheap $10 beach radio, and you could tune right in. So I'm actually very excited about this. This is a low-cost option for us that is a vast improvement over last year's system. So I'm really looking forward to it, and we will start selling advertising for PorcFest Radio very soon. The group photo. The group photo is a big deal. It helps us recruit more people, show our numbers. It definitely helps boost attendance year after year. This one is tentatively scheduled for Friday afternoon. It's tough to schedule this one because I wanted to schedule it where there's absolutely no competition. And even better would be to schedule it following something in the same venue that brought a lot of people, so we can get a lot of people there quickly, take the photo, and let people get back to having a good time. Um, Even last year, I actually had a good time at the group photo, even though it was raining and kind of cold and miserable. It's still cool hanging out with all those people and seeing the numbers. And I think normally a pork fest or a group photo takes us roughly an hour to get a good one because it takes so long for people to mill about and find a seat and then show up, and then there's more people showing up, and we take a few photos, and finally we get the right one and whatnot. But this one last year we busted out in like 15 minutes because everyone was miserable and just wanted to get it over with. So it's tentatively scheduled Friday afternoon, roughly, I want to say 5 to 6 p.m. I don't know for sure. I'd have to check the schedule. I don't want to do that while I'm doing this talk, and then I'll pause and I'll look stupid. Nick Ford asks, "What is the Alt Expo? Can you tell me more?" Nick, can I tell you more about the Alt Expo? Probably not, but I'll tell everyone else. The Alternatives Expo began, if I recall correctly, I want to say when the first Liberty Forum began, which would have been in 2007. Um, it was a market response to a need identified by Jack. Um, who felt that the programming at Liberty Forum didn't include enough alternative type tracks in which people like himself would be interested in. It was pretty stuck with is pretty stuck with the political routes and whatnot, and not so much the non-participation or agorism or whatnot. So the Alt Expo was created to just give an alternative to those who wanted to see different forms of programming at Liberty Forum and PorcFest. And it's been a huge success. It's something I look forward to every year at both events. And this year it's got the same prime spot as last year, and we'll feature some great speakers. I haven't got their schedule just yet. I have seen a few people that they've been talking to, and it should be another stellar year for Alternatives Expo at PorcFest 2011. Um, Generally, all those talks are recorded, so you can check them out on YouTube. You can actually see most of the talks from last year's Alt Expo on YouTube right now. I'm sure there's probably an Alt Expo channel, but you can definitely go to the PorcFest YouTube channel and see the playlists there, which are broken up by year. And 2010 has quite a bit of programming from last year's Alternatives Expo. So if you'd like to learn more, check out guessingaltexpo.org. George D asks, "What is the action plan for bathrooms? Will they be clean?" I hope they're clean. Let me break it down for you. Normally, Roger's staff cleans the bathrooms, I believe, twice a day, which includes hosing it down, like big old industrial hose, and spraying with bleach, maybe? Maybe. Maybe they spray bleach and then they hose it down. So that was how clean they were last year. This year, we've increased the volunteer commitment from 4 hours to 5 hours. And the last 15 minutes of those 5 hours, all the volunteers are aware, will be spent cleaning bathrooms. Um, this actually, I thought about this yesterday, creates an interesting opportunity for the right person as a potential bathroom attendant. They could take advantage of all this free cleaning that will be going on, bring in some cologne and breath mints and gum and whatever else bathroom attendants generally sell well, or whatnot inside of a bathroom, and stand there and collect tips on someone else's labor. I'm totally okay with that. So if anyone wants to make a little money standing outside the bathroom handing people towels and whatnot, then get on it. But they should be much cleaner. We're going to schedule it so volunteers hopefully will be in there at least once every 2 hours, if not once an hour. I'm hoping all these volunteers doing all this bathroom cleaning will be so noticeable to the attendees that they'll go out of their way not to make a mess, so that will improve things as well. So hopefully the bathrooms should be roughly 5,000% cleaner than last year. 5,000%. Well, they weren't all that clean last year, so I didn't ever even went into one, so I can't actually say. Talk about balance of older players versus government-controlled gun stock. I actually never attended PorcFest at Gunstock. My first PorcFest was 2009 at Rogers. Um, so Gunstock had some really nice bathrooms. As again, I was never at Gunstock. I preferably, I will shit in the woods, um, over attending a government-controlled campground. So that's what's up. Excuse me. Let me wet my whistle. Set up paid bathrooms, and we'll no longer have this tragedy of the commons issue. Did you hear me before when I talked about how little money we have? Um, Let me just break it down. Basically, like I said, we're sitting on about 10% what we need to put on PorcFest. So the only money I'm spending is money that's going towards routes that will increase our revenue stream. That'll get us more donations, more sponsors, more ticket sales. Um, Make the case that me renting private bathrooms will actually increase ticket sales or donations, and I'll think about it. But I think that's more one of those things for the market, and that thought is backed up by the fact that I've actually seen someone advertising in the PorcFest Agris Party group saying, "Hey, do you guys want to go in on these private bathrooms?" I think they're these bathrooms complete with showers on like trailers that are meant for like disaster relief or something. It's definitely not your standard construction type bathroom. They're quite nice, and so some people are already talking about bringing their own private bathrooms, so they just don't have to worry about that. So I definitely think that's more of a market thing than it is a central planner type thing. It may not look like it to you, especially with all the Soviet Curtis joking and whatnot. Why am I called Soviet Curtis? So I go by Sovereign Curtis, which I have before I even knew what a minarchist was. If that tells you how long it's been, I've been using that stupid name. Um, and a year ago or so, um, a young man confused Sovereign with Soviet and asked me, "So why do they call you Soviet Curtis?" And it stuck, and we've had fun with it ever since. So you might not have noticed when we're doing all this central planner joking and whatnot, and I'm forbidding RVs from Agora Valley and whatnot. But my goal as the PorcFest organizer this year, after watching how much work it took last year, was to cut down on that work as much as possible. That's why I'm selling the concession rights to all the kitchens that are there, so we're not going to devote labor, volunteer hours to cooking food for people. I will talk about the food options. But basically, I'm doing everything I can so I don't have to be a central planner because A, I'd rather not do all that work. B, I like to have a good time at PorcFest too. And C, it's not consistent with my principles. So um, I'm trying to not do as much as I can, let other people do it, make a profit. I'm all about incentivizing people. And if the market has room for their scheme, then they can make a profit of what they want to do. What are you most excited about and why? Let's see. So PorcFest lasts from June 20th to June 26th. I'm most excited about June 27th, and I think the why should be obvious. We've got less than 90 days to go, and I'm all ready for it to be over. I just want to, yay! I can't wait to do 85 more days of mind-numbing work to make the world's greatest freedom festival. Yeehaw! That's what I'm excited about. Is working my ass off. Sponsorship opportunities. Are these questions or are these just okay? Sponsorship opportunities. This has been a big one. I keep coming back to the budget. We got no money. I knew right away that I needed to. I keep saying we have no money. This might make you think the Free State Project's broke. That's not the case. I need to point that out. The Free State Project's not broke. I chose to do the Porcupine Freedom Festival without costing the Free State Project a dime to show that it was a viable project all on its own, that it could make a slight profit. Um, without the Free State Project dumping money into it to get it started. And so far, so good. I haven't asked them for a dime. They haven't given me a dime. Um, and we're raising money through donations, sponsorships, and ticket sales. And so far so good. Yes, we've only got about 10% what I think we'll need to pull off this year's Freedom Festival. We could probably do with half of what I originally budgeted, and still pull off the world's greatest Freedom Festival. But it's very important that we raise this money because we're not going to cost the Free State Project a dime to put on this festival. It's basically going to be free advertising for them. That's a good thing. So the sponsorship opportunities are a big deal because that's what we're going to use to put on this festival. Um, we augmented last year's gold, silver, bronze package, sponsorship package, which um, included like a program ad, different size program ads, and I think that was about it for the sponsorship perks for the different packages. This year, I'm just trying to privatize everything. So the sponsorship packages this year are much larger than they were last year, and they include things like naming rights to venues. So, for example, we already have sold the naming rights to the picnic pavilion, so it is now the Free Keen Pavilion. Naming rights to events. Another example would be Free Keen Karaoke, an event that's sponsored by Free Keen. Thank you. Group efforts such as the PorcFest promotion team, the kids and family organizers, that sort of thing. We're going to allow you to basically purchase the naming rights to those so you can sponsor group efforts that make PorcFest awesome. You'll Part of the packages will have the PorcFest radio ads, website advertisement with banner advertising, um, of course, when you purchase the naming rights, anytime what you purchase the naming rights to gets mentioned, your business or effort or whatnot also gets mentioned. So it's an attempt to get more sponsorships for PorcFest by giving more back to the sponsors, more of an incentive, and we've added a couple tiers, the platinum and the top of the line tier, which is the unobtainium. Um, which includes some great sponsor perks like a hotel room and a golf cart. Um, that currently, the sponsor packages are currently still under development. We've got them mostly knocked out. We're working up some sales sheets that we can distribute to potential sponsors that will be pretty and compelling, and will encourage them to write back and cut a check. So that about boils down to the sponsorships. Joseph O'Donnell asks, would attendees pay to sleep in an RV? Well, do you own an RV, Joseph? If you own an RV, then you'll pay for an RV site, in which case I guess you could say you're paying for, um, I guess you could say then you're paying to sleep in an RV. Is your question's asking if other attendees would be willing to pay you to sleep in your RV? I imagine so. There's probably, I mean, your RV probably can't take more than 3 or 4 people, and out of the 1,000 plus that'll attend, I'm sure you could find 3 or 4 that would say, "Hey, I really wanted a hotel room, and they're already booked out, so, and I really don't want to sleep in a tent or whatever." So yeah, I'd be willing to, maybe they'd be willing to pay you to sleep in your RV and use your bathroom and shower and whatnot. So there is already it goes back to the bathrooms and showers again. I'd already forgotten this. There's other people talking about getting a hotel room that they can use just to use for the shower, just to use for the bathroom and whatnot, kind of a shared shower or shared bathroom. So th- there's definite market opportunity there. The best place to market this offer of yours, I would have to say, would be the PorcFest 2011 group on Facebook, which you can only be a member of if you've purchased your tickets. So that's one perk to purchasing your tickets is you get added to this ticket holder only group on Facebook, which is the absolute perfect place to market anything to PorcFest attendees because this is a group full of people that have already bought their ticket. Pretty self-explanatory. So, another reason to register. Register for PorcFest 2011, get added to the PorcFest 2011 group, pimp your ideas and products and services to the PorcFest attendees. It's pretty simple. Lydia asks, where can I view ad rates? Um, I haven't really set up ad rates because working so hard on creating the sponsorship packages. I have a short list of maybe a la carte sponsorship items, but ad rates aren't included. Basically, that's something that probably will not be offered until the 11th hour when I feel I've already sold as many sponsorship packages as I could, and I still have some ad space left over. Like I said before, we're talking about the sponsorship packages. There's multiple advertising venues or avenues this year for PorcFest. There's the program ads. There's the map, which will be bigger and prettier this year. There's PorcFest Radio, and then there's the website. So we've expanded how we can advertise your company or institution or effort or whatnot, but we don't have an a la carte basically for just. I figured you meant the program. I haven't set aside. I haven't figured out what we're going to charge for ads in the program. Um, Basically, because I'm hoping we're going to sell out all the advertising through sponsorship packages. So pushing the sponsorship packages first. If you signed up through registration to get some information on those sponsorship packages, I apologize for the delay, but please watch your inbox over the next week. It should be showing up soon, and then I'll be bugging you for some money. The Queen Quill asks, do we have speakers lined up? Thanks for that softball, Carla. Yes, we do have speakers lined up. Stefan Molyneux will be returning. Um, Larkin Rose will be returning along with his family, including his lovely wife Tessa. Brett Vanoit is on the hook to speak about homeschooling and how government schooling just sucks. Bob Murphy of the Mises Institute is confirmed speaker. Um, Not only is he learned in Austrian economics, um, he also is an avid karaoke singer, which I'm very excited to see him sing karaoke, and plays a zombie on television. Check that out. Interview with a zombie. If you did not know that, Bob Murphy. Is that Alan? Alaric McCoy? It's an interesting combination there. Asks if there is a nudist section. Um, a nudist section. No, no. There's no nudist section. Um, Plenty of opportunities to go nude, but not so much a sanctioned area where you can go nude in front of other people who don't want to see your naked body. Um, there is the possibility an orgy or two will break out, but there's no nudie section or nudist section being set aside for nudists. Maybe something for next year. I've got nothing against it. I just don't want to see children being exposed to that if that's not something they choose to be exposed to, you know. George Donnelly, thanks George, asks, will talks be videotaped and placed online? I sure hope so, George. Talks were supposed to be videotaped and placed online last year, but I'm sure you're well aware what happened there. Yes, we're going to try to learn from last year and diversify our videographers. So if one of them has a problem with their footage, we won't lose everything like we did this past year, which was a real shame. So yes, hopefully we will have all the interesting talks and whatnot videotaped on ourselves. Generally, attendees do all the recording and stuff on their own and upload to YouTube, so the quality might not be perfect, but generally all the good stuff gets uploaded to the internet eventually. But yes, this year we're going to try to encourage professional and amateur videographers to take as much video as they can, as well as pictures, and share that with us. And we're working on some sort of way to incentivize them to share with us their raw footage so we can get that right away, put it somewhere safe, and then work on editing it over the next 3 or 4 months so it can be used to advertise the next PorcFest. David Morris asks, is there parking for people staying off-site? Yes, but there is going to be a little bit of a problem with parking, as there is every year. This year it's going to get a little worse even. Generally, there's two parking areas at PorcFest. There's up top where the office is and the jazz hall and bingo hall is, and then there's down bottom where the overflow parking is and whatnot. Um, This year we're going to be closing off the parking lot for the bingo hall slash jazz hall. We're renaming it the jazz hall if you're wondering why I keep saying both. And we're going to use that parking lot for a beer garden, which I'm still looking for someone to step up and take that over. The cost is $500. You rent the parking lot, you sell your beer, you have a great time. It's awesome. So that will not be available. In addition, the 4 or 5 spots that are generally right in front of the campground by the office, those are going to be closed off because they block the view of what will be the welcome help info tent and first aid tent. So you won't be able to park there. There's roughly probably 18 parking spots that are no longer going to be used for parking. So that means the overflow area at the bottom of the park will be getting a whole lot more use. And to augment that, I've already talked to the owner of Rogers. They're more than willing to cut down some grass in the back of their park and whatnot to allow for even more overflow parking. Um, so the short answer is yes, there will be parking for you. If you're staying off-site, you'll have to deal with the Rogers staff when it comes to getting a parking sticker and a day pass and whatnot. Um, but yes, there absolutely should be parking for you. In the event, we're already considering what happens if we get mobbed with people driving by themselves, and so we've got 2,000 cars there. Luckily, PorcFest this year does not coincide with Bike Week up in, is it Lebanon or Laconia? Laconia Bike Week, I think. Which generally, when the two merge or overlap, all the local motels and whatnot get booked up. So the good thing this year is we're not competing with Laconia Bike Week for hotel sites, which means hopefully we can reach out to some of those local hotels and possibly use some of their overflow parking and then run a shuttle if parking gets really bad at Rogers. Thank you, David. That was a good question. By the way, best question. Holy crap, there's only 10 minutes left. Best question gets a free ticket to PorcFest. We've had some good ones already. I'll announce it on Facebook which one I think was the best one, but I'm quite pleased with the number we've had already, and there's been some good ones. Can you tent and park car on an RV site? From Alfonso. Thank you, Alfonso. Yes, you can. It might get tight if you're vending, because then you're gonna have vending, camping, and parking. But if you're just tenting on an RV site, which is totally okay, if every year when they run out of campsites, they start putting campers in RV sites. They give them the same campsite rate. You get water and electricity and the campsite or RV site for 25 bucks a night with the PorcFest discount. Um, so if you're just going to camp out at an RV site and park your car on an RV site, absolutely there's room for that. If you're going to vend, camp, and park, it might get a little tight. Oh no! Okay, some general questions. Is there Wi-Fi? There is, but it is provided by a third party, so you can't complain to Rogers about the quality of it or the price of it or any other thing that has to do with the Wi-Fi. They divested themselves of that responsibility and liability, brought a third party in there to take care of it. The third party stuck Wi-Fi transmitters up around the campground, attached them to trees and whatnot. So I personally last year got the Wi-Fi. I used it maybe once a day. I never had a problem. Other people staying with me said they did have a problem. Generally, it was when I got online. Maybe there's an issue of using logins. You can only have one computer using the login online at one time. I don't know, but I never had a problem. Um, and most people didn't do much complaining about the internet because, as much as we love the internet, PorcFest is still so much better. And so generally people forget about their cell phones and their laptops and all that crap while they're there. The first aid tent this year is brought to you by Free Aid, which is a group of free agents with medical experience coming together to volunteer their time and expertise to take care of any boo-boos you might have. This is a completely proactive effort because we've never really had any serious or even semi-serious injuries or anything at PorcFest in the past. But I'd much rather we were proactive than reactive. So if you do have any minor to semi-major issues come up there, if you have a heart attack, we're going to call 911. That's as simple as that. Um, But if you get a big scratch or something, or I can't even think about it. Maybe I know they're going to bring a portable defibrillator. There's going to be a lot going on. There's going to be CPR dummies. So if you want to learn a little bit about medical care and whatnot, you can go and check them out. Um, and you definitely should. They will be located right next to the Welcome Help info tent, right at the beginning center of the campground. So go check them out and see what they're offering. And this is another group, Free Aid, who could also use your donation. They're raising donations separately from PorcFest in order to cover some of their costs. So right after you donate to PorcFest, consider donating to Free Aid, who will be taking care of people who get hurt and sick absolutely free. And they'll be doing some CVR classes. All right, we got maybe 1, 2 left. I'll have to do them quick. The lovely Abby Torkelson asks, if I already have a hotel room booked, will I have parking? Absolutely. There's parking for the hotel rooms generally. There's not a whole lot of parking for the hotel rooms, but there is parking for the hotel rooms. You should have a place to park, and that generally shouldn't be a problem for you. Last but not least, please go to PorcFest.com. We just brought it up. It's a brand new site. We just brought it up maybe a week and a half, 10 days, 2 weeks ago, I think. So go check out all the hard work that's gone into that. It's been a labor of love over the past 2 months. Thank you, Jacob Parrish. Thank you, Johnson Rice. Thank you, Louis Cowitz. And thank you, Dan Garthwaite. And after you do that, click on register. I'm totally spelling this wrong. Register. I won't even pull up here. Click on register. Please register for PorcFest. Registration.porcfest.com. Tell your friends to register. Please make a generous donation. It's up to you how awesome this festival is going to be. There's only so much we can do to make it awesome without the donations. So please go to porcfest.com. Go to registration.porcfest.com. Please donate. Please buy your tickets. Please buy tickets for your friends and family. Please donate for your friends and family. Is it June yet? Unfortunately not. You want to know how I know it's not June yet? Yeah, it's not June yet. Not in New Hampshire. Thank you, everybody. This has been a great talk. I hope everybody learned something. If I didn't get your question, you know me. I'm always on the friggin' internet, so just hit me with your question online. Let's say you get it in the next hour, and it will still qualify for the best question gets a free ticket to PorcFest contest. So hurry up, get those questions in. I will answer them to the best of my ability, and I hope to see every one of you at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Thank you. PorcFest.com.